He always insisted on handling our finances, said it was easier that way. Then one day I needed a loan and pulled our credit report, only to find out he had maxed out cards in my name. Furious, I dug deeper and found thousands spent on luxury trips I had never been on. That night, I handed him a glass of whiskey and said, "Funny story, I found out where our money's been going." He took a sip, smirked, "Oh yeah." I smiled and slid a stack of papers toward him. And so did the police. His glass slipped from his hand, and that's when he knew it was over. I'm writing this half shaking, half numb. I guess I need to get this out because it's all still unfolding, and I can't believe what's happening in my own life. I, 49 female, have been married to my husband, let's call him Ricky, 53 male, for 17 years. No kids together, but I have a daughter from a previous marriage. Ricky came into my life when I was still dealing with the mess my ex left behind. He seemed like the safe, reliable one. Ricky's the kind of guy people describe as steady. No wild past. No crazy stories. He wore slacks and polo shirts, worked as a construction project manager, and paid his bills on time. Or at least, that's what I thought. We met at a little shop I worked at in Santa Rosa, California. He asked me out, and within months we were inseparable. Looking back, it all moved fast. I had just finalized my divorce, was working 2 jobs, and was just trying to keep my head above water. Ricky showed up, took me to dinner, told me I deserved better. I believed him. We moved in together within 6 months. Got married within a year. I was 32 and exhausted. I just wanted peace. Ricky always wanted to handle the bills. From the beginning, he said things like, "It'll be less stressful for you," or, "You've already been through enough." He convinced me that keeping everything in one place would make life smoother. And honestly, I didn't want to deal with it. I had spent years fighting with my ex over money, late payments, overdraft fees. I was tired. So I let Ricky take over. That meant our joint account was in his name. The mortgage was under his control. I had a debit card that I used for groceries and household stuff. If I needed anything, I'd ask him. For a long time, it seemed fine. I'd ask, "Are we good this month?" He'd say, "Yeah, we're fine." I trusted him, but over the last couple of years, there were things that didn't sit right. He would get defensive if I asked about the bills. One time, I asked if I could log in and see the mortgage payments because I wanted to know how much equity we had, and he just laughed and said, "Why stress yourself with all that?" Another time, a bill came in the mail, an overdue credit card in my name. I had never opened one. He said it must be a mistake and took it out of my hand. Said he'd call them and sort it out. I didn't push. I should have pushed. Last month, I decided to apply for a small business loan. I bake custom cakes and wanted to open a storefront or at least a better setup in our garage. I had some savings. I thought my credit was good, but the loan officer said I wasn't approved. I asked why. He told me my credit score was in the low 500s. I laughed, thought there was some mix-up. I didn't even have active credit cards, or so I thought. He suggested I pull my credit report. I did. That's when everything started unraveling. There were 4 credit cards in my name. One opened in 2017, another in 2018, 2 more in 2020 and 2022. They were all maxed out. One had a $13,400 balance. Another had $8,200. The smallest one was $5,900. And the interest had piled up. I sat there staring at the screen, completely frozen. I called Ricky, told him I found cards in my name and asked if he knew anything about it. He didn't miss a beat. "Oh yeah, that. I meant to tell you. I had to put some things under your name a few years ago. It's fine. I've been making payments." I asked why he didn't tell me. He got annoyed. Said, "Why are you making this a big deal? It's all under control." Except it wasn't. He hadn't made any payments in months. One of the cards was in collections. I said, "This is identity theft." He laughed. Said, "You're my wife. It's not theft." That night, I barely slept. I felt like I was in a fog. The next morning, I started digging. I called every credit card company. Had to go through hell to verify it was my identity. Found out the cards were all opened online. The mailing address was ours, but the emails and phone numbers? All his. Then I went through our joint bank account. Started printing statements. That's when I saw the transfers. He had been pulling small amounts for years. $200 here. $500 there. Thousands over time. He even cashed out a retirement account I had from a job back in 2010. I pulled phone records. I pulled every financial document I could find. And then came the real gut punch. I found travel receipts. Plane tickets to Las Vegas, Miami, Tulum, even Barcelona. Dates he told me he was on work trips or visiting family. Hotel reservations. Spa charges. Couples massages. My name wasn't anywhere on them. But another name kept showing up, Tina Marie. I checked the email confirmations. They were sent to one of his burner Gmail accounts, which he left open on our iPad once. Rookie mistake. Tina Marie had been on every trip. So I Googled her. Found her Instagram. She's a 31-year-old yoga instructor in San Diego. Blonde. Fit. Whole, clean energy and manifesting your dreams vibe. Photos of her in bikinis. At the same resorts I'd just seen in Ricky's receipts. Same dates. Same places. I nearly threw up. They'd been together for at least 5 years. She had no clue I existed. Or so I thought. I'd met her. She replied within an hour. Said she had no idea he was married. Thought he was divorced. Thought I was a roommate or his ex who wouldn't leave. She was crying. Sent me screenshots of their conversations. Gifts he bought her. Promises he made. Pictures. Videos. He had bought her a Cartier bracelet. He had flown her to Spain for her birthday. He bought her a dog. With my name. With my credit. With my savings. Everything I had worked for gone. And I had no idea. He kept me in the dark and made me believe he was being a good husband by taking care of everything. All while living a second life. I didn't confront him right away. I needed more proof. I called a lawyer. I called a detective. I filed a police report. It's still in process, but identity theft is identity theft, even if you're married. I made copies of everything. Labeled folders. Emails. Credit card statements. Printouts of Tina's messages. Even the old emails from the airlines. I packed it all up. That night, I made his favorite dinner. Pot roast and potatoes. I poured him a glass of whiskey. I sat across from him like nothing was wrong. Inside, I was boiling. I slid the folder across the table. Funny story, I said. I found out where our money's been going. He didn't look scared. Just smug. Took a sip and said, "Oh yeah? That's where I stopped it. Because what happened next, that's a story I'm still living. But I will say this, he doesn't live here anymore." He stared at the folder for a long time. Didn't even touch it at first. Just looked at it, then looked at me. Like he was deciding which lie to go with. Then, finally, he opened it. He flipped through the statements. The receipts. The printed Instagram photos. The screenshots of Tina's messages. His face didn't change at first. No guilt. No panic. Just quiet. Too quiet. Then, without looking up, he said, "You went through my stuff?" That was his response. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because I felt something inside me break open. "Your stuff?" I said. "You stole my name, Ricky. My credit. My money." He closed the folder and leaned back in his chair. "You don't understand how hard it's been for me," he said. "The pressure I've been under." That's when I knew he wasn't sorry. He wasn't even going to pretend to be. I told him I'd filed a report. That I had contacted the police. That identity theft didn't magically become okay just because you wear a wedding ring. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he got up, calmly, and walked to the living room. Poured himself another drink. Came back and sat down again like we were having a chat about the weather. And then he dropped it. "You think you're the only one who's been lied to?" he said. I stared at him. "What are you talking about?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Opened his email. Slid it across the table. It was an email from a woman named Catherine. Different from Tina. Older. From the tone of it, she had known about me. The subject line was, "You said she'd be gone by now." My hands went cold. "You're not the only one who's been cheated," he said. "This isn't as simple as you think." I didn't say anything. My brain was racing. "Catherine? Who is Catherine?" He continued. "She's the one who helped me with the credit stuff. She knew how to set it up. She handled the applications. She's smarter than me, all right?" So now there was another woman. And this one had helped him. She'd helped him steal my identity. Helped him hide money. Helped him lie. I was shaking. "Who is she?" I asked. "How long?" He didn't answer. He just said, "Long enough." I asked if Tina knew about her. He shook his head. "You think this is just about you," he said. "You think I was trying to hurt you? I've been stuck in this life for years. Working, paying, managing everything. You never wanted to deal with it. You were happy to sit back and let me take it on. It was the most twisted way to shift blame I'd ever heard." "I didn't ask you to commit fraud," I said. "I asked you to be honest." He got quiet again. And then he said something that still makes my skin crawl. "You think they'll believe you?" he said. "You were clueless. You didn't even know it was happening. You signed half those things." I hadn't. I never signed anything. But he had access to old documents. Old IDs. He knew my signature. He could have copied it. It hit me then. He had a plan. This wasn't reckless. This wasn't just cheating. This was calculated. He had covered his tracks, and now he was planting seeds to make me look complicit. I didn't say another word. I picked up the folder, walked upstairs, and locked the bedroom door. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I packed a bag and left. I want to stay with my sister outside of town. I called my lawyer and told her everything. Here's where the twist gets worse. The police came by the house the next day. Not to arrest him. To ask me questions. Turns out, someone had reported me for fraud. The credit cards in question were now flagged under a possible joint case. Ricky told them I had opened them with him. That I benefited from the funds. I was stunned. He beat me to it. He knew I was going to expose him, and he got ahead of it by framing me as an accomplice. The receipts I printed? He probably had digital backups. Or maybe doctored versions. He could spin it any way he wanted. I told the officer my side, and thankfully, I had documentation. I had printouts. Emails from Tina. Voice messages from Ricky on old phones. But it was clear this wouldn't be over quickly. Meanwhile, I got an email from Catherine. She knew. Subject line, I'm sorry. He lied to me too. In it, she admitted to helping him open accounts. She thought I had abandoned the marriage and left him to clean up the mess. He told her I had disappeared. That I didn't care. She said she never saw me, never heard of me until now. But then she saw my name on the police report and freaked out. She sent me everything she had. Emails. Screenshots. Instructions he gave her on how to fill out applications in my name. Passwords. Fake emails. Even a fake PayPal account he had used to transfer money. I sent it all to my lawyer. But I knew the fight was just starting. Ricky was still in the house. He was still trying to spin the story. I don't know how many people he has fooled. I don't know what else I'll find. But I'm not backing down. Not anymore. After Catherine's email, I thought I had the upper hand again. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. She said it would help, but I needed to be careful. That it was now a matter of narrative control. Ricky had already set something in motion by contacting the police first. It was now my word against his, but with Catherine's cooperation, it could swing back in my favor. So I met with Catherine in person. We agreed to meet at a public cafe in downtown Healdsburg, a quiet little spot by the square. I was nervous, but when I saw her, I knew instantly. She wasn't a villain. She looked more confused than anything. Guilt written all over her. She apologized the second we sat down. I didn't know, she said. He told me you were mentally unstable. That you'd left him years ago but refused to finalize the divorce. I just stared at her. He showed me old text messages, she continued. Said you'd disappeared. That you were in Oregon, maybe homeless, and that he was trying to get a fresh start. I asked her why she helped him with the credit applications. He said the banks had frozen his accounts because of you. That he couldn't use his name. I thought I was helping him start over. She seemed genuinely heartbroken. But then she dropped the real bomb. He told me we were moving to Spain next year. I blinked. What? He said he had a job lined up. That we were going to retire early. He even sent a deposit on an apartment in Valencia. That's when I realized it was deeper than I thought. Ricky wasn't just stealing, he was building a future off of what he stole. A second life, a real one, with long-term plans, with other people involved. And Catherine wasn't the only one. 2 days later, I got a message from another woman. She didn't introduce herself. Just sent me a screenshot. It was a photo of Ricky at our house, on our porch, from about a year ago, holding a baby. Caption: Uncle Ricky loves you, little man. I asked who she was. She replied, you don't know me, but he's been helping me with rent for the past 2 years. Told me he was single, but had a crazy ex-wife he was trying to get rid of. I asked if she had a child with him. She said no. The baby was her nephew. But Ricky had been spending time with them, bringing groceries, giving her money, fixing things around her apartment. Did he ever ask you to sign anything? I asked. Long pause. Then, he had me co-sign a loan. Said it was for a car for his nephew. That's when it hit me. He was spreading debt around. Not just in my name, but in multiple names. All women. All isolated. None of them knowing about each other. Using the same lines. Ex-wife gone crazy. Just trying to rebuild. Help me out. Almost there. He had turned his life into a con game. A clean-cut, soft-spoken, financially responsible man on the outside. A manipulative, serial liar on the inside. My lawyer suggested something drastic. Subpoena his emails and phone records. We needed to prove intentional fraud, not just marital financial abuse. If we could show a pattern of using others, of creating a web of fake identities, of manipulating women into signing things, we could build a criminal case, not just civil. The next day, I got a call from my daughter. She was crying. Mom, she said. Did you take out a student loan in my name? I nearly dropped the phone. What? No. What are you talking about? There's a $14,000 loan on my credit report. It's from 2 years ago. I just found it. My throat went dry. Ricky had used her name too. She was just 24 at the time. Hadn't even finished college. She was living with her boyfriend in Portland and barely scraping by. He had opened a loan in her name. While we were under the same roof. while pretending to be her stepdad. That's when something inside me snapped. I called the detective handling the report, told him everything. Catherine's files. The other woman. My daughter's student loan. The messages. The fake Spain apartment. He asked me one thing. Did you ever see him with stacks of cash? I hadn't. That wasn't Ricky's style. He kept it all digital. Quiet. Behind logins and email confirmations. But then I remembered. In the garage, there was a locked metal filing cabinet. He always said it was for tax stuff. That he kept old receipts and insurance papers in there. I never questioned it. Never saw it open. I went back to the house when I knew he was gone. Used an old set of keys. The cabinet was still locked. I pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside were folders labeled with initials I didn't recognize. Over a dozen. Each with printed applications, credit card statements, emails, and copies of IDs, some real, some forged. He had done this to others. Not just me. Not just Catherine. Not just my daughter. This was systematic. Organized. Planned. And here's the part one still don't understand. There were envelopes of cash. Neatly labeled. Each around $1,000 to $2,000. Hidden behind false backs in the cabinet. Over $30,000 in cash. Just sitting there. Why? Why would someone spend years lying, stealing, manipulating, just to hide the money? Was it greed? Was it control? Was it addiction? I don't know yet. But I took photos of everything. I didn't take the money. I left it exactly where it was. Because I want the police to see it just as I did. Ricky still doesn't know I found the cabinet. He still thinks he's ahead. But this story isn't over. And the deeper I go, the darker it gets. I waited until the police were ready. I had everything. The files from Catherine, the statement from the woman with the baby, the credit report from my daughter, and the photos from the cabinet. All of it tied together. One man, multiple lives. Dozens of lies. They said it was enough for a warrant. I knew I wanted him to be surprised. Not out of pettiness, but because people like him always believe they're smarter than everyone else. I needed him to feel that fall fast and real. So I told him we should talk. Said I wanted to meet for lunch. Neutral ground. We met at a restaurant in Santa Rosa, a quiet Italian place he liked. It had an open floor plan, lots of windows, and enough people that he wouldn't make a scene. I wore neutral colors. Tied my hair back. No makeup. He came in smiling. Wore a clean white shirt. Gold watch. I hated how normal he looked. We sat at a table near the back. You look good, he said, like he hadn't stolen everything I'd built for nearly 2 decades. I looked him dead in the eye. So do you. Hope you brought cash. He laughed. Why? Because this is going to be your last free lunch for a while. That's when the officer approached. Not in uniform, undercover. The same detective I had been working with. He walked up beside our table, showed his badge, and asked Ricky to stand. Ricky blinked. Confused. Then he turned to me, like this was some prank I'd pulled too far. What is this? He asked. Are you serious? The detective said, Mr. Redacted, you're under arrest for multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and wire fraud. Ricky's smile dropped. He stood, but not quietly. What the hell are you doing? He snapped. You can't be serious. She's my wife. People in the restaurant turned. Forks paused in midair. Conversation stopped. He raised his voice, eyes wide, sweat already building on his forehead. She let me handle everything. She knew I was using her name. Don't let her play victim now. The detective told him to lower his voice. But Ricky wasn't done. She didn't care about money until she got bored. I built everything. I held this family together while she made cupcakes and played victim. I stood up. People were watching. I could feel the heat rise in my face. But I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, you used my name. My daughters. Strangers. You stole from all of us, and you did it with a smile on your face. He pointed at me like a cornered animal. I did what I had to do. You were useless. You were always too fragile to handle the truth. The detective handcuffed him. And that's when it happened. Tina walked in. I didn't know she'd be there. I hadn't invited her. But Catherine had. Tina stood frozen, eyes locked on Ricky. You said she was dead, Tina whispered. Ricky's entire face changed. It was like watching a puppet lose its strings. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. Catherine walked in behind her, holding her phone, still recording. He looked at all 3 of us, me, Tina, Catherine. Then he looked at the detective. I want a lawyer, he said. They walked him out. People clapped. I didn't. I just stood there. I felt hollow. Afterward, the restaurant gave me my lunch for free. Said they were sorry I went through that. One waiter told me his ex had done something similar. Another woman came up and touched my shoulder and said, he's not the only one out there, but thank God you caught him. I nodded. I smiled politely. I couldn't feel anything yet. The weeks after were a blur of interviews, Lawyers, victim statements, and court prep. He was charged on multiple counts. The DA was confident. Said the amount of paper trail was almost too easy. Tina testified. Catherine too. Even the woman with the baby came forward. My daughter didn't want to speak to anyone. She just wanted to forget. The house went into foreclosure. The debt collector stopped calling after the fraud report cleared. My credit is still trashed, but at least I'm not being blamed anymore. The worst part? Sometimes I still miss him. Not the real him. The version of him I thought existed. The man who made me tea when I was sick. Who rubbed my back at night. Who made me believe I didn't have to carry everything alone. That man was fake. But the grief was real. Some nights, I still cry. Some nights, I look at the chair where he used to sit and feel a wave of sadness crash over me before I can block it. Other nights, I sleep like a baby. Catherine and I talk sometimes. We're not friends, exactly, but we're bonded in this weird way. Survivors of the same war. Tina deleted her Instagram. Said she's moving. Doesn't want to date for a long time. My daughter? She told me she forgives me. That meant everything. The truth is, I'll never get those years back. The money, the peace, the trust. But I'm still here. And I'm not as weak as he thought I was. Maybe I never was.